Hi everybody, welcome to Emma's Diaries Live. I'm Cherish Reardon, I'm owner of Popsy Clothing, and today I'm here with our sleep expert Lucy. So today we are going to be talking all about tips to help your little ones sleep. As a mum myself, I know how important sleep is, and I am super excited today. I've got two little girls of my own. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And they're both monkeys at going to sleep, so I'm definitely here for all the tips today. There's also 3 prizes to be won too. So we have our clear bowl capsules, which we'll be talking a little bit more about. We have the Sleep Nanny system book, and we have £25 Amazon voucher as well. So to be in with a chance of winning, keep your comments coming in. If there's any mommy bloggers, if there's any mum friends who you think are going to get some benefit from today's live, tag them in the post, let them know that we are live, and you can be in with a chance of winning one of our 3 bundles. So I'll hand you over to Lucy, who will introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Lucy Shrimpton and I'm a baby and child sleep expert. I got into this whole thing through my own children. They're now 7 and 9, which seems impossible. But actually, it was when my eldest son, my 9-year-old now, was just about 15 months that sleep came unravelled for us, and I was pregnant with number 2. And it was just a real struggle. And so I really do say he was the inspiration for all of this. And then I went on to see so many other parents struggling, and once we'd resolved the sleep challenges through the help of an expert, I used to think, well, why are people suffering when they don't need to? It can be so much better, which led to lots more research and study to learn what I now know and put it into hopefully a manageable book for tired parents to get some really good tips. So that's me and what I do, and I'm here to answer your questions today as well, and yours as well, Cherish.
No, that's brilliant. I think being a parent as well, sleep, you can sort of feel quite isolated, you can feel quite alone.
Yeah.
Sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, you think you're the only parent sort of awake at that time. So it is nice to get sort of these tips and know that we're not alone.
Absolutely.
With this as well.
Yeah.
No, of course. So in terms of tips, so a problem that I have with my children is the amount of time that they wake up in the night.
Yeah.
And I always sort of worry, is this normal, is it not normal? So how many times roughly would you say is sort of a normal?
It's a great question, and people do worry about that. Is this too much? Is it normal? I think it's really important to say that it's normal to wake in the night. For all human beings, it's normal to wake in the night, and we can wake sort of 3 to 6 times. The difference is, as adults, we just put ourselves back to sleep, with a shift of the pillow or roll over or whatever. Babies and some young children, if they haven't learned how to put themselves to sleep, then they don't know how to get themselves back to sleep. So when they have those inevitable wakings, instead of just settling back off to sleep into the next sleep cycle and us as parents not hearing about it, they don't know how. So they end up awake and crying out and really seeking that assistance. And sometimes it is just assistance. It's just a waking, and they just need some help to get to sleep. Other times it could be hunger that woke them. And especially obviously for the younger babies, they are going to wake for feeds in the night because they do still need that. So in terms of what's normal, it will change as they grow. So as they get older, they're less likely to need the feeding, they're less likely to need the help. And I think it then comes to an age where you go, okay, my baby is capable, my child is capable now of sleeping without my help to get them back to sleep in the night.
Yeah.
So that's more question.
I think that's really reassuring as well, sort of know that it does get easier as they get older. So when you're sort of in that stage of my child just doesn't sleep, I seem to be constantly awake, it's sort of reassuring to know that it does get a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's not forever.
Is there any products that you could recommend to sort of help that sleeping routine?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's a magic product that makes your baby sleep. I think it's a combination of things, and often what I deal with is always behavioural based, so not medical at all. But a couple of products I really do love that I think do assist are, one is blackout blinds. For any age. I think our bodies are naturally wired by daylight and blue light, which is like artificial light, and that light actually suppresses our ability to make sleepy hormones. And so if we're getting that light going in, it wires us, it wakes us up. So it's sort of sabotaging little ones' attempts at getting to sleep. So by blacking out that natural light can really, really help, and it helps with the development of the body clock, the circadian rhythm as well. So blackout blinds, great product. And another one I love is there's so many different ones now, but the sleep sacks or sleep suits, because you can get the right hog and you know it's staying put and you know the baby's temperature is regulated, so you're not second guessing like, are they too hot, are they too cold, are their feet poking out, or that, you know, so I love those as well. They definitely help.
No, that's great. And is there anything else that we could be sort of doing, sort of, you know, tips that we can help ourselves?
I think definitely there's just being mindful of a few things. So bedtime routines are good, so having that rhythm to the day, so they know that this is like a lead up to bedtime, and then putting them down, you know, before fully asleep, so rather than sort of cuddling all the way to sleep, just having a nice sleepy routine, all lovely and calm, and then putting them down so they can get that sensation of going to sleep. And that can be really helpful, even as practice with babies. And then, you know, this time of year especially, I find things like humidifiers are really good to help keeping airways clear. Those sort of things can assist. And the Clearvor, I've used this with my own two children, even at 7 and 9. And I love this because not only is it great with clearing the airways, but it also they're completely natural vapours that are designed to calm. So you get that calming soothingness in the room, which they are breathing in, and I think that's a real good asset.
Oh no,
absolutely.
So I wish that I'd sort of known about these when I'm sort of struggling with my children. And what age can we use these from?
From 3 months.
From 3 months.
Yeah,
it's just like a little capsule. So cut the end off and
and then squirt it on something like a muzzy, you know, or cloth or something. And then it's just important that you place it away from, out of reach of the baby or the child. You don't want them grasping at it. So yeah, as long as it's out of reach, they'll still get those vapours, even if it's, you know, across the room slightly.
No, that's it. And can you use these, because these sound great, so can you use these for like adults?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
no,
absolutely. They're really soothing.
Yeah.
And it's a nice scent as well, so it's like having a nice aromatherapy.
Yeah. And ladies, if you have any questions about the product, if you pop them in the comments, and we'll be able to hopefully get down them and help you with those.
And you need to comment for a chance to win as well, so you can win one of the bundles.
3 bundles to give away, so get your comments in, get sharing, get inviting your mummy friends too. So this is one of the things with me, naps. So I always have problems with my girls sleeping at night. People say you need to cut the naps out. What's your advice on that? What's the difference between sort of a nap and a sleep?
It's a really, really good question. I love this question. And I find that naps are often dropped too soon. They're underestimated. And I think it's quite old-fashioned as well. You often get the grandparents coming in going, oh, we kept them awake all day for you. You should get a really good night's sleep tonight. That can happen as a one-off. You can get like a crash-out sleep. But actually it's not sustainable, and having the right amount of daytime sleep for the little one's age, it does change with age, but the right amount for their age is going to aid good night's sleep. When they're overtired, which is often due to a lack of daytime sleep, you find that you get things like bedtime battles because they're into the kind of second wind wired place. You get more wake-ups in the night, so you get disturbed night sleep, and you get the 5 AM wake-up call, which is bizarre. You'd think a tired child's going to sleep better. It just doesn't work that way. It's the most counterintuitive thing about the topic of sleep. So never underestimate the value of naps. So I wouldn't cut naps down or out in order to get better sleep at night. It's probably something else that's going on. But another point on that, sometimes we'll go, can you get too much daytime sleep? If they're, you know, if they sleep too much, could they be undertired? Which is a really interesting question as well. And I would always say, as long as they don't have too much too late, if it's too much and too late and there's not a big enough wakeful window after the nap up to bedtime, that's when they could potentially be undertired. But usually, if they're having a good sleep in the day, they need it. Their body is doing it because they need it.
That's really interesting. We sort of have a cut-off period in our house where it's like, there's no sleep after this time, because you just know that.
That's fair enough, definitely. But actually up until about age 3, most little ones need some daytime sleep, even if it's got shorter, and then it might go down to just a half an hour quiet time. But something like that's so beneficial, and you know, the average 2-year-old needs a good 2 hours in the day, and lots of people don't realise that. They don't want it. 2-year-olds don't want to go and have 2 hours in the day.
I'd love to have 2 hours in the day.
But they do still need it, and it's the primary reason why I see night sleep come unravelled in toddlers. It's because the nap's been dropped too soon.
No, that's really interesting. So if you want to have the opportunity to have your question answered by our sleep expert, get your questions into the comments, ladies, and we will be able to answer them for you. So I can see we have had lots of comments already. Let's have a look through. So Sarah Cabral says, how many hours would you recommend between naps and bedtime?
Yeah, that's a really good lead-in question from what we were just talking about, actually. So it will slightly change depending on age in terms of how long they can go between sleeps. So what we're really talking about here is a wakeful window. So the period of time that the little one can be awake between sleeps. And so from that last nap to bedtime, it will expand depending on their age. But the newborn stage, they usually can only go about 45 minutes between awake between sleeps. Then let's give you some sort of milestones. So around 6 months, they're probably going to manage a good couple of hours between sleeps. A 3-year-old is going to have the stamina to go much longer, 5 or 6 hours, if not more. So it grows with age. I think that's the key. So knowing those wakeful windows for your child's age and keeping an idea of how that evolves is the key to staying on top of that.
No, that's really interesting. Thank you. So Emma wants to know, how can she stop her baby crying whenever you put the baby down? So I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah,
you sort of
definitely.
put the baby down and then they start crying. It's like, what do I do?
And I see so many parents do that thing where you put them down and then you sort of like stealth try and escape from the room without them waking up. We've all done it. Yeah, so it's really natural because if they've been in your arms, they've had a cuddle, maybe a lovely feed, they've got really sleepy, maybe they're asleep, and you put them down and the second they touch that mattress, they're like, whoa, what are you doing? And it's completely natural. It does happen all the time. How can you stop it? Practice. It's all about practice. So if you know, when I put my baby down, they're going to cry, so you just don't bother doing it, you'll never get out of that. Just practice. You don't need to perfect it on the first go. So practice doing that lovely cuddling, feeding, whatever it is you do, until they're in a nice sleepy state but not asleep. And then you put them down, but you don't have to put them down and move away. You can put them down and keep an arm there, keep a hand there, keep some shushing and soothing. I mean, perhaps if you were doing some shushing or a lullaby in arms, carry that on so that there's like more of a transition. And then when you put them down, you're still there, lovingly soothing, helping them really. And yeah, there may still be some fussing. They're not going to just accept it because they're kind of communicating with you to say, hey, I don't like this, pick me back up. But actually by persisting a little bit, giving them a little bit of a go, letting them adjust, and then if they need a pick up and a calm and a cuddle, that's fine, and then try again. I will say, when you're practicing this, it can feel like you're getting nowhere. And I have people say, oh, I've been doing that though, and it doesn't help, it's not making a difference. And my answer to that is really keep going. It will click, but only if you keep at it. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything in the moment, but that practice will pay off. All of a sudden, they'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is all right after all. I'm okay here.
No, I really like that sort of idea of still giving them comfort, but sort of while they're in their cot. So it's not just sort of completely, you put them down and you leave the room. Like I do like that sort of transition. I think that's really.
I think it's warming to know as well that you know it's not all or nothing. It's not all on you or putting them down and leaving them to it. There's actually a really lovely halfway transitional soft way that you can do this. So
no, that's great. So we will be announcing our first winner of the first bundle shortly, so make sure you keep on getting your questions in, ladies. Keep on tagging your mummy friends who you think would be interested in the live. Have we got
we've got a question on the clear ball there, haven't we?
Will Clearball help relax my toddler, and if so, where can I get it from?
Great question. Yes, it will. Those calming vapours, they're all natural vapours, and it's really calming, so it will help for the relaxation along with your support as well. Where can you get it from? Boots, Amazon. You can get it with your Amazon voucher if you will. So yeah, it's widely available.
And there's also 20% off from the Emma's Diary app as well, ladies, so you can get 20% off these using the app too.
Excellent.
I've got another question. So Amber, would you recommend swaddling or baby sleeping bag?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Swaddling, I was talking about swaddling with somebody recently, and some babies really hate it and bite it and bite it, and others are really soothed by it. And to be honest, it's different for different babies. You know, some will love it and it will really help them, and others won't. So I think know what's right for your little one. It can really help with the startle reflex when they're tiny. I wouldn't push it if your baby isn't taking to it. The sleep sacks are great, and obviously they come in different shapes and sizes and styles, but if you find that actually your baby's more comfortable in that and it's keeping them a certain amount of contained, there are so many different products now. I mean, some of these things weren't around when my children were babies, but always obviously check that it's safe and that it's appropriate for your child's age. But I know there are some where they evolve, so they're kind of like a swaddle, and then you can undo a bit and it lets an arm out, and then you can, so yeah, I think really swaddles can be great, sleep sacks are great. Go with what works best for your child.
I think it's really that's really interesting, because I know with both of my children, one absolutely loved being swaddled and the other hated it, so it just sort of depends on the child, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah. Sarah has asked, how do I use the clear bowl capsules?
Okay, so we've got some here, haven't we? So it's just a little capsule that you snip the end off, and it's really easy to do because it goes thin at one end, so you can just snip the end off and squeeze the liquid out onto the cloth that you're going to use. You can dot it around if you like, and that's really it. Obviously you want to discard the other side and then put that cloth somewhere out of reach of the child. So if that means hanging it up high, so a toddler can't go running around the room for it, or obviously for a baby in a cot, that's not too hard to do. You just want it out of their reach, so it's not something they're going to actually grab. But it's just on a cloth, that's it.
Perfect.
And
nice
it lasts
and easy.
ages. It's lovely.
Yeah, I definitely need to get some of these. Let's have a look. Bethany Wood, try again. 1-year-old, always a good sleeper. Now 4 AM, screaming. She's breaking my heart.
Oh, Bethany, I feel for you. Yeah. So at 1, if she was sleeping well up until now, it's hard to know sometimes what has happened or triggered it, and I try to not get hung up on that, and look more about moving forwards, because actually I was talking earlier about the putting yourself to sleep, and it's a learned skill. She may have developed that skill really well, but they can forget it. That's the thing with a learned skill, you can forget it just by getting out of practice. The thing that stands out the most to me there for Bethany is that she says 4 AM, and if she's waking up 4 AM and she's screaming, so she's she's not happy, she's not done sleeping at 4. If she was waking happily at 4, that would be different. I would look at how much sleep she's getting in the day, because that 4 AM and 5 AM, that always rings alarm bells of overtiredness. Yeah. So I would look at how much sleep is she getting in the day. So at 1, ideally we'd be looking for 2 naps in the day. You really want them about 3 hours of wakeful time apart, roughly. Obviously if one doesn't go so well, or little one is tired, don't wait the whole 3 hours, nap them a bit sooner. And ideally you're looking for those 2 naps to accumulate to about 3 hours in total. So if that gives you some good ballparks, Bethany, have a look at that. And if you can get 2 naps equating to 3 hours, with no more than 3 hours awake between sleep, I think you'll start to find that 4 AM waking will slowly disappear and decrease. And the only other thing you can do is just make sure that you respond to the 4 AM waking consistently, because if one day you take her into your bed, and another day you let her start the day, and another day you go, let's have some food, I don't know. If you're giving lots of mixed responses, that could prolong this, because she's just going, what will happen today?
Get used to it.
Yeah. So just respond consistently, keep it all very calm, very, still night time, and back to sleep.
I think you find that, don't you, that you seem to get like a routine, you get, okay, it's not too bad, and then it could be like teething, it could be a cold, something just sort of knocks it out of sync.
Exactly, it really can. Yeah, holidays are a common one. We went on holiday and it's all gone wrong.
I'm never going on holiday again. So we do have our first winner, ladies.
Amazing.
And the name is Sarah Freitas Cabral. I think I've pronounced that right. So you are our first winner. You have won the bundle with the Clear Bowl capsules, you've won the Sleep Nanny System book, and you've also won a £25 Amazon voucher too. So well done. We still have 2 bundles to give away. So keep on posting your questions, keep on tagging your friends, And yeah, we've still got 2 more to give away. Let's have a look. Sophie, what are the best steps on moving a toddler into their own room? I'm due my 2nd child next month and she'll be in my room and I don't want the crying to disturb my toddler's sleep.
That's a really great question, and I see this a lot. And often if you have got toddlers and they're in your room, when number 2 comes along, I would definitely recommend moving the toddler, and she's obviously thinking of this, ahead of baby coming along, so that you don't get, if it's too close to baby coming along, then toddlers can feel a bit pushed out. So like, oh, this baby came along and now I'm not allowed in there. So yeah, by doing that in advance is really, really good. So how to make that transition? If I'm assuming there's a room ready for toddler to go into, so I would get them used to that room, spend a bit of time there in the day, make sure they're familiar, this is their room, and it's a nice place that they're happy with. And then if you're used to having your toddler in your room with you, and that, you know, gives them that closeness to you, there's no need for that to just suddenly disappear. Just because they're going into their room doesn't mean you can't be in the room. And so you can be with them, you can be near them, still giving them that comfort of your closeness. So it's not that they go in their room all alone. So what I would do is I would start, just literally choose a day where you're like, from this day forward, this is where you sleep. This is your sleep space, this is where you sleep, and stick to it. Don't mess about with some days you're there, some days you're in our room, it's too confusing, and then the toddlers are good at digging their heels in, and they're like, no, I want this. So stick with it. I would recommend that at first you perhaps put them down, put them in the cot, and then, you know, sit nearby, perhaps have a little lullaby, and just have that bit of time in the room so they don't feel entirely alone. And then obviously if you get awakening in the night, to do the same, to go in and just be there. So like I say, the being near you in your room hasn't massively changed. It's just that it's in their room now, and I think that makes it quite a nice transition.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. I think it's nice as well, sort of making their sort of own little space. You know, if they're into a certain princess or, you know, something that they're into, sort of making that their own space.
They often feel quite proud as well.
Yeah,
like,
grown up.
Yeah, this is my room, and make it all really positive. Lots of positive language.
No, that's great. Zoe would like to know, how often should she be using clear bottle capsules?
That's a really good question. Yeah, so I would say, you know, as needed, if you've got things like congestion and you want to use it for that. But it's also great, as I say, with the vapours that are really calming. You'll find that the capsule will last quite a long time, but you'll know if it's faded and if the scent has, you know, isn't there and you need a bit more, and then you can top it up. So I would, you know, completely as needed. It's natural, so it's not a medicine. You're not going to have too much.
That's great. Let's have a look. Charlotte Harris, does your book have more sleep tips? The more the better.
Yes, absolutely, it does. So we go through different sections in the book on different topics around sleep, and at the end of each section there's a little kind of like bullet point recap thing. So it's quite handy. You don't have to go and read it from start to finish. You can pick the bits you need, the bits that make most sense to you as and when you need them. But lots of tips like
ditching the dummy page. Lots of mummies after that.
Yeah, so if that's what you need, go to that. We've got night weaning, self-settling. So you can totally pick what you need, and lots of tips.
That's great. Let's have a look for any more questions. Alexandra Perkins, any advice for parents of 6-month-old twins who take turns waking up, which means parents are up 20 times every night?
20 times? Oh gosh.
Alexandra.
Yeah, no, I feel for you. 20 times, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's twins just tag teaming, isn't it? Yeah, it can be a challenge. Often we find with twins, you have one better sleeper and one it's a real challenge. If they're both at it, you can feel like it's constant. I think, you know, if you are in a position to have some help, or parents can sort of almost take turns, that can help, because it's so important and you're getting some rest. You can't run on empty. And if there's not, you know, if there aren't 2 parents in the home, could a friend stay? Could somebody help out just for a short time? You could look at possibilities of putting them in separate rooms temporarily. You know, if that's not what you want permanently, that's fine, but maybe even just temporarily, because then at least they're not sabotaging each other's sleep. and it may reduce the amount that you have to then tend to both of them. So temporarily separating their sleep space can help.
So if you do have one that is sort of trying to get the sleep and one's getting disturbed, I suppose that does sort of make sense, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah, because if one is predominantly waking because of the other one, that's when you almost want to protect that one's sleep and focus on then assisting the other one. And then it really does depend on their age and what they're ready for, because a tiny baby is just going to need a lot of comfort, soothing and helping. When they're a bit older, then you can work a bit more around the whole self-settling and getting them more equipped to resettle broken sleep, and you can do a bit more with that.
No, that's great. Let's have a look. So Griffin, our wee man slept since birth happily, but the last 2 months I've had to sleep on the couch with him. I think it's separation anxiety, but we can't continue on the couch.
No, you're right. Okay, so we don't have an age, do we, on this one? No, but since birth has been, so it's just the last few months things have gone a little off track. When it comes to separation anxiety, I think that can sometimes be quite strong, and actually it's just sometimes a little bit of that nervousness about being on their own, which is quite natural. You're right about being on the couch. It can be, there are safety concerns, and it's not sustainable, and the more tired you get, obviously this parent knows that it needs to change. So I would just, a bit like the changing to their own room scenario, I would just sort of like take yourself, your comfort and your support to their sleep space, and be beside them, put them down, if they need to pick up, be on your knee, they'll calm and back in and be there. And if you have to sit with them until they're asleep at first, that's okay, because you can always reduce that. You can always almost wean your input and your help as they get better at it. And I really love that process because it's gradual, it's subtle. They don't massively notice it, they just develop more skills whilst always having your support.
That's really interesting. Let's have a look at another question. So Cat West, my 7-month-old won't sleep during the day. She just takes cat naps and sleeps through the night. Is this normal?
Yeah, 7 months, definitely. Cat naps are okay. I mean, great that this 7-month-old is sleeping through the night. That's really good, and I would definitely enjoy that while you can. What I would be wary of is if you're just getting cat naps in the day, what could happen is over the coming few months, if there's a lack of sleep in the day, it could start to affect the night sleep. So if that night sleep is going really well, but it's what I sort of describe as like crash out sleep, that will only last so long. So you could be on borrowed time, which is possibly why the question's being asked. So I would just try and work on increasing that daytime sleep. So at 7 months, ideally you want 3 naps a day. You'll probably find 2 of them are longer, and then the third one's usually slightly shorter because it's the one that will get dropped. And don't stress about trying to make all those naps happen perfectly in the cot. If it takes, going out for a nice walk with the pram, if the motion lulls them off, that's fine. I would just say try and practice 1 nap a day at home, just so that you get that consistency of going through those motions, and that baby gets the feel for sleeping in their cot at home. So practice it once a day, but don't get hung up on it. Don't let it take your life over. Just be wary, at 7 months you do really want a good 3.5 to 4 hours of daytime sleep. If naps are terrible, if they're just cat naps and really low in quantity overall, then I would go early to bed, just to kind of compensate a little bit. But great, you're getting that good night's sleep. At least that we are getting topped up somewhere. But yeah, I'd work on that. Some people do say, with cat naps, can you resettle them? And you absolutely can try. If they've only done sort of 30 minutes, then a resettle is definitely possible. Going in, calming, soothing, reassuring, trying to help them back off. If they're not going to go, or if they've kind of taken the edge off, then just end the nap. Either try again sooner for the next one, or even just go out and see if the motion helps them sort of finish it off.
No, that's great. We have another question. Any tips for me actually also? I've slept in my bed less than 10 times since baby girl has been born 5 months ago. I can't sleep in the same room as her. I never fall into a deep sleep as I'm constantly listening out for her, even though I know she's fine and she's my third. I I'm not really worried about her, but I hear everything.
Oh, yeah, so we do hear everything, don't we?
It's tough,
It's like a baby's born and we hear everything.
Yeah.
We hear a pin drop.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I slept in their bed less than 10 times. But, so she's saying she can't sleep in the same room as her because she doesn't sleep well. You don't need to. I mean, the recommended age for sharing a room is up to 6 months. So you know, if mum's saying, "Oh, I need to get to that mark," then you're not far off. Get to the 6-month mark, and then move them into a room. If they're well monitored and you know you feel confident that you can hear them, she obviously can. She's very aware. But yeah, I don't.
Difficult, isn't it?
It is, because some of them are ready. You've just got to be sure that you can hear them. That's the whole point, is that you know and you're aware of them and you know their safety and the like. But yeah, just sort of soothing, reassurance. I remember my youngest being a really noisy sleeper, and you know, and she was fine, but hearing those noises, it does disturb you. You know, take it as reassurance that everything's okay. And you know, I know it's hard, but just relaxing yourself. There's a piece in the book actually about sleep breathing and how we can actually start to get ourselves back to sleep, because it's one thing, you know, baby wakes in the night, we feed them, they go back off to sleep, and we're stuck there going, brilliant, what now? I'm wide awake. You know, and how do you get a few more hours? So I do talk a bit about that in there, and that might help as well, just to get yourself, you know, back to sleep as well. But you're nearly at 6 months, so you can start exploring, you know, what's it going to look like to put her into her own room and all those kinds of things.
Sort of take that time, isn't it? Sort of unwind as a mum as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, relax. We have another question. Can I use Clearvol for all of my children and myself?
As long as they're over 3 months, so it's over 3 months of age, and adults do use it.
I suppose going back to the previous question about the mum sort of struggling to wind down and things like that, I'm guessing that's going to be
totally
good.
Definitely, absolutely. If you feel that your noisy 5-month-old is disturbing your sleep, put some Clearvol just next to your bed too. That really might help to soothe you, for sure.
Fab. So we are going to announce our second winner, and the second winner is Jasmine Elliott. You have won our bundle. So you've won the Clearvol capsules that we've been talking about, you've won the Sleep Nanny System book, and you've won a £25 Amazon voucher too. So we do still have one more bundle to give away. So keep your questions coming in. These are brilliant questions, ladies, and I hope that you're able to sort of go away with some tips. So keep your questions coming in. Let's have a look. So we've got a question. My 7-month-old has always been a good sleeper. However, over the past week has started shouting and growling in his sleep. He's fast asleep while doing this, and I'm at a loss of what to do.
Oh, so you don't need to do anything really if he's asleep when he's doing it. So the description is that he's asleep. He's fast asleep while he's doing it. He could be dreaming, you know, all sorts. But if he's not disturbed, I know it's disturbing for you as a parent, and you to hear that. And you feel compelled to sort of intervene, but actually you don't want to go and intervene and then disturb him or startle him. So it's one of those things to kind of monitor, make sure he's okay, but if he's asleep, you really don't need to do anything.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It is, and I think all kinds of things come up like this, especially, you know, if our children are poorly and things like that. We find ourselves feeling the need to do something when actually just watching, checking they're okay, and holding back is fine.
We've got another question. Elizabeth. Let's have a look what Elizabeth has said. Missed it.
Oh no, there is.
Have you got any tips for an early rise at 5 a.m. every day? This sounds like our house.
Yeah. 5 a.m. 5 a.m. just makes me go overtired. So yeah, whenever you see those early wake ups, just have a little review of how much sleep they're getting overall. Is bedtime too late, you know, or inconsistent? Is there still a need for daytime sleep? And if so, are they getting enough? Also, is it at the right intervals? Because sometimes little ones are kind of having one nap when actually they really could do with spreading it over two, and the gap between that one nap and bedtime is too long a stretch for them, and even something like that can cause a 5 a.m. wake up. So it can sometimes be really obvious when people know that. They go, oh yeah, okay, that's why. Other times they're like, no, I think we've got it all right, and it's just like a little investigation to see where is that overtiredness creeping in. Sometimes it can actually be the early waking, so that 5 a.m. waking means that they don't go back to sleep until their nap time, and you know, that stretch is the bit that's prolonging this process. So that might mean bringing the nap a little bit earlier, or bringing in an extra little early nap to top them up temporarily. And then once they replenish some of that sleep, you'll find the 5 a.m. waking pushes out. Early rising though can be a little bit of a slow one to resolve. It can take some time, but stick with it.
And I suppose when you have like the clocks changing and things like that, it just completely throws it all up.
People get terrified of the clock change, understandably.
Let's have a look. Amber, I have a weird question about babies dreaming. What can they possibly be having nightmares about? That's interesting.
Yes, it really, really is, and I find it fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and it's something I've been talking about recently. And I think if you imagine how a baby sees the world, or how a toddler sees the world, so their dreams aren't going to be like our dreams, but they're still going to have thoughts. They're still going to go into dream sleep, in the scientific process of sleep. But when it comes to nightmares, like I love the way she's saying, what could they possibly have nightmares about? Because actually, they can only have a nightmare if they have a fear, and they can apply that fear. So I would say they're more likely to be able to have confused sleep, or a dream that may just not make sense, or might be in some way uncomfortable for them. But they're not going to have a nightmare in the sense that we would imagine one, because they're not cognitively ready to do that. But what's scary to a baby is very different to us. It could be that this, stranger came in and went, oh, you cute, by their pram that day, and they're like having this vision of this hand, and that could be really scary to them. But it's kind of a baby-fied thing. I don't think you'll find that it can be as extreme as the nightmares that we consider. When they get a bit bigger though, sort of toddlerhood, preschoolers, I would be mindful of what they're exposed to. So like if they're in the car and you've got the radio on, or on TV, like news and things like that, things they pick up on, or conversations, if they hear you have conversations with other adults, little things can trigger fears in younger children. But that's when they're a bit older.
No, that's great. We have another question. How is sleep routine stabilised?
Okay. Well, a lot of it comes down to rhythms. So I always start with bedtime routine. That's where I would always start. If you feel like you have no routine, I would say, right, start with bedtime, and just have some simple steps you do in the same order every night. So that might be that, after mealtime you go upstairs, perhaps it's bathroom time, so maybe a bath, or if that's not happening every night, just a wash and change into their bedclothes. Some people will do like a massage or something, that whatever you like to do really, but make sure you have those steps you do in the same order every night. I also highly recommend going from the bathroom activity to the bedroom that they're going to sleep in, and not kind of moving around rooms too much. If you go, because if you've got that nice sort of lead in, and then you go back down, and then there's the telly, or then we have a big old game, it can create a lot of hype, and then they can be really engaged, and you need to calm them. So into the bedroom, finish the routine in there, maybe a bedtime story or a song, or just maybe having their last milk feed in a nice dimly lit calm room, and then down to sleep. So I'd start with that, and it's amazing how a bedtime routine sets cues and triggers and helps them sleep. And then another thing I would do for getting routine in place is during the day, especially with a baby, is to get in the habit of feeding upon waking. So when they wake up for the day, they feed, play, down for sleep, wake up, feed, and rather than feeding right ahead of every sleep. So they don't then become reliant or associating that they need to feed to get to sleep. They feed because they're hungry and they need feeding. But doing that upon waking is great. It's also much better for the digestive system, so they can process that milk or solids, whatever they're on. So that can help. And it is about sort of that rhythmicity, and I think if you can create rhythmicity, they thrive on that, and that's when the routine does start to kind of, stabilise, I guess.
No, that's great. So we have another question. Sorry if this has been asked. Where can I get the clear bowl from?
So boots is a great one. I think we mums are always in boots anyway. And Amazon is another great easy one. You can do that on your phone.
Everyone loves Amazon. We've got another question. If we stay over at a friend's house or on holiday, is there anything I can put in my son's cot at night that smells familiar so it soothes him?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really common thing to do. If it's, obviously you want to make sure that it's age appropriate and safe. So if it's a teddy or a cuddly, if they have that at home, take it with you. Sometimes people do like an item of mum's clothing or a muzzy that mum has slept with, and then they give it to little ones. Again, make sure that's safe for their age, because at certain ages that wouldn't be safe. But one thing you can definitely do really at any age is the sheet. So the cot or crib sheet, if you're going away, to take that from their bed, and don't wash it, take it as it is on holiday, and then use that when you get to your destination. And again, that's that familiarity, familiar smell. So yeah, great question.
No, that's really good. We've got another question. How many Clearbell capsules would you recommend to use, say, in a week?
Ooh, well,
so we get 10. Yeah, we get 10
yeah,
in
it's
the
10 in the pack. Yeah, so in a week. Well,
So
if you need, again, you know, if you need a fresh cloth's worth every evening, then yeah, you could do a fresh one each evening. Yeah, I don't think you would use. I don't think you'd use the 10 in a week.
Yeah, they're gonna last you a while.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, definitely. I would say you probably. I mean, from using with my own children, one would definitely give us a couple of nights.
Yeah.
Of vapor. So, yeah.
Let's have a look. I love the point of not moving into too many rooms after bath. Never thought of that. That's true, because I know I bath my girls and then we sort of come down and you know, it just seems to all go out the window then. It's sort of all geared up.
It's so common, and I hear lots of parents talk about, oh well, then daddy comes home, and then it's, you know, we're all sort of playing and, you know, on the floor, and it's all hyper. It's literally like a party, and then it seems quite natural actually to do that. But when you think about it, people always go, oh gosh, yeah, because actually you're hyping up a child that you want to be calming down. So, yeah, I always say, you know, can we have that in the morning instead? You just shift it around slightly. Or do that first and say goodnight to people and in family, and then go up.
Yeah, so it's sort of routine, calm. They know what's coming.
And this will help with calm as well.
Yeah.
Clearbell will help with the calm. So, you know, if you introduce that as part of the routine, again, even that scent and that calmness of the smell is going to trigger sleep time. So they start to relate. Yeah. So you can have that as part of that routine.
No, that's great. We've got about 5 minutes left, ladies, so keep your questions coming in. We do have our final winner, who is Lauren True. Well done, Lauren. So you have won Clearbell capsules, you've won the Sleep Nanny System book, and you've also won a £25 Amazon voucher too. So well done to you, well done to all of our winners. See if we have any more questions before we finish up. Let's have a look. So we have one. We sleep with a toy for a few days and it smells of us. Always helps soothe the kids. It's that familiar smell, isn't it? You sort
Definitely.
of come to recognise it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any more questions? Baby dreams are so interesting. Another one that we.
They really are. And there's no conclusive study either on exactly what goes on, so we obviously can't ask the baby, can we? So there's, I find it really fascinating.
No, that's great. No, it seems like lots of you managed to get some tips from the live, which is brilliant, which is exactly what we wanted.
Definitely.
And we hope that just from this Facebook Live, you're able to see if you are having problems with your little one's sleep, doesn't matter what age they are. Mine are 5 and 3 and I'm still having problems. You're not alone. Although it may feel like it in the middle of the night, there's lots and lots of us going through it who are all struggling with sleep. So I hope you've managed to get some fab tips. Well done to our winners, and it's been great to have you on the live, so thank you so much, and take care.
Bye.